Hello and welcome back to Cinematic Venom and happy Groundhog Day! Hello and welcome to Cinematic Venom and happy Groundhog Day! Hello and yeah, you get the joke.
That sums it up for me.
Bill Murray plays a weatherman called Phil Connors who constantly reports on the holidays events every year, growing sick of it, with his producer Rita played by Andy McDowell and the cameraman Larry played by the star of the iconic masterpiece blockbuster Snow Day, Chris Elliott. That night the town is hit with an insane snowstorm and Phil wakes up somehow entering a massive time loop, reliving the exact same day's events over and over again. Trying to figure out what the donkey nutsack is going on, he soon wreaks havoc, finding enjoyment in the fact that his actions literally have no repercussions as he wakes up the next day completely unscathed. He learns people's personalities and uses this each day to manipulate them to become the most popular guy in town, but depression soon hits as he fails to escape the loop, trying to come to terms with his undying love for Rita before turning his life around in a Scrooge-like transition before finally escaping the loop with the love of his life. Somehow.
That's an unusual problem.
Screenwriter Danny Rubin had just sold his script for Hear No Evil, not to be confused with this masterpiece and this pile of dog shit, before he came up with the original concept for Groundhog Day, which he conceived while sitting in a cinema. Though he admitted he gained some inspiration after reading Interview with a Vampire, wondering what would happen if someone could live forever. I don't know, ask Maggie Smith.
Oh, let's not spoil it!
He asked himself, if a person could live forever, if a person was immortal, how would they change over time? Having this person be literally immortal and have everything around them change would be too difficult to shoot, so he instead returned to his original concept of the same day being repeated over and over, with the singular character changing over time, finding deeper purpose. With this new combined idea, he was also able to insert a lot more drama and comedy into the mix, including Phil using this power to get laid. He originally wanted to have it set at some point in January, but when he checked his calendar, he noticed Groundhog Day was on February the 2nd. A holiday that was recognised but not nearly as big as Christmas or Halloween. Once he had the basic outline and concept, he wrote the first draft of the script in just 3 to 4 days. Despite this, many producers liked the idea but found it impossible to shoot until Ghostbusters legend, the late great Harold Ramis, was given it to produce and direct. And have a cameo!
Gosh, I should have known! That's great!
In the first draft of the script, the writer actually didn't want it explained how he got in the time loop to begin with. I mean, it's not explained in the final film anyway, but whatever.
Why not?
Instead, the original idea was to have the film start with him already in the loop and being fully aware, as the audience have to figure out what the hell is going on, and Rita was also going to be in her own time loop. Harold Ramis liked this idea, but the studio pressured them to change it to be a lot more standard and easier to follow. In the next draft, Phil actually dumps his girlfriend Stephanie at the start of the film, who then casts a magic spell on him to cause the loop for 10,000 years. That's dumb.
That's true.
I felt like I had taken a very defensive position in writing this new idea. I just felt it would take away everything that was innovative and interesting and turn it into an easily dismissed Hollywood comedy. Even Ramis interceded on my behalf to remove these explanatory scenes while still keeping the 3-act format. However, the original ending was still going to be Phil waking up, breaking his loop, but finding out that Rita was now in one of her own.
Why are you telling me this?
After working with Bill Murray previously, Ramis easily convinced him to take on the part, but Michael Keaton was originally offered it but turned it down. Ramis also considered Chevy Chase, Steve Martin, John Travolta and Tom Hanks, but decided they were all far too nice for the part. And then he remembered Bill Murray's an asshole! He's perfect!
I think this is getting too personal.
The movie was shot in Woodstock, Illinois, but things were shaky for Bill Murray, who was going through marital issues at the time. Many of the cast and crew noted that he was acting very erratically, and he also clashed with Harold Ramis over the story. Murray wanted the comedy to be toned down to focus more on the psychological drama side of things, but Ramis insisted on it remaining a comedy. The director did, however, compromise to have Rubin work with Bill to make some adjustments to the script to fit his liking. When I got the part, it was still kind of a mediocre Bill Murray movie. You know, Bill Murray with no consequences in comic situations. It wasn't until we got into the shooting that everything turned on its head and it became not only a good movie, not only a great movie, but a classic. Filming didn't go much more smoothly for Bill, however, as he was also bit by the groundhog twice, so severely that he required anti-rabies injections.
I love this film.
However, Murray refused to talk to Ramis due to their differences. The director called him irrationally mean and very difficult to work with. After the film's release, their collaborative partnership and real-life friendship ended with no further explanation, and they didn't speak for around 20 years. Murray did eventually reach out and reconcile, but only towards the end of Harold Ramis's life. Tori Amos was considered for the part of Rita, but Andie MacDowell was cast after her role in The Object of Beauty. And hey look, it's Michael Shannon in his feature film debut! No, seriously.
No way!
WrestleMania! No way!
WrestleMania tickets in 1993 really wasn't something to brag about. But despite its popularity, as usual, controversy arose as some claimed the movie plagiarised their own work. Author Richard Lupoff stated it was a copy of his short story 12:01 PM, while another claimed it stole material from his work Replay. Danny Rubin denied this and claimed his only inspirations were the aforementioned vampire story and the 1892 story Christmas Every Day by William Dean Howells.
What the hell?
Groundhog Day was released on February the 12th. Shouldn't it have been released on Groundhog Day?
No.
1993 to mostly positive reviews, grossing nearly $71 million in North America. Roger Ebert originally wasn't actually a fan, but later put it on his great movies list and admitted that he initially underestimated its many virtues and would only end up truly appreciating it after repeated viewings. The movie is often seen as the cornerstone of self-improvement pictures, an inspiring film to place the needs of others above oneself. And since the movie gives literally no explanation how or why this time loop begins or ends, it's entirely up to the viewer's interpretation. Ramis said he didn't want an explanation, he just intended it to be nothing more than a good, heartfelt, entertaining story. Many have seen the film as a visual representation of purgatory, specifically Buddhism. Connors goes to his own version of hell, but since he's not evil, it turns out to be purgatory, from which he is released by shedding his selfishness and committing to acts of love. Meanwhile, Hindus and Buddhists see version of reincarnations here, and Jews find great significance in the fact that Connors is saved only after he performs mitzvahs, good deeds, and is returned to earth, not heaven, to perform more.
Oh, please.
Many call it the most spiritual movie ever made, with Phil breaking the curse after he learns to appreciate his life more. The film also never specifies exactly how long he's stuck in this loop for, but Harold Ramis, who is actually a Buddhist, claims that according to his religion, it takes 10,000 years for a soul to evolve to its next level. So the movie actually spans that length of time. Jesus, I thought I've seen some long movies in my time, but this one's 10,000 years long!
It's inspiring in a way.
However, on the DVD commentary, Ramis claimed it was only around 10 years, but pondered that that may be too short to really get good at anything, so it would have had to have been at least 30 or 40 years. Ultimately, it became this weird political issue because if you asked the studio how long was the repetition, they'd say 2 weeks, but the point of the movie to me was that you had to feel you were enduring something that was going on for a long time. For me, it had to be, I don't know, 100 years. A lifetime.
What a waste of time.
However, in a clever move, the end of the loop is actually signalled when they kiss in the snow, paying homage to It's a Wonderful Life when Jimmy Stewart returns to his normal life. The movie is pretty much a classic, but I do think the last act really saves it. It's incredibly difficult to get behind this particular character at first. It is very much a slow transitional piece of film. Right at the start of the film, Phil is a complete prick. Just listen to how he talks to people.
Would you like some coffee?
I don't suppose there's any possibility of getting an espresso or a cappuccino this morning, is there?
Oh, I really don't know.
How to spell espresso cappuccino. This looks fine.
And as the story pans out, he uses this gift for completely selfish reasons. Now at first, sure, they're very human things that anyone would do if given this power. He uses it to learn details of a woman's life, pretends to know her to get her into bed. He uses it to become an insane piano player, an ice sculptor. He uses it to become insanely popular, but then it gets worse. He spends several days learning what Rita's into and manipulates her into thinking he's the perfect guy. I can't really get behind this love story initially when he's tricking her into bed. It's not real love. It's pretty bad when Adam Sandler in 50 First Dates did a better job than this. I mean, his feelings are genuine, but hers aren't.
I could never love someone like you, Phil, because you'll never love anyone but yourself.
That's not true. I don't even like myself.
Stop being a dick then? How? This turns into a rape scene! No, seriously, he starts kissing her, but she turns him down and wants to leave, but he doesn't take no for an answer!
No. Tonight. It's gotta be tonight.
No, Phil, really?
Come Just stay for a while, and then if you like it, stay for a while longer. And if you like
And afterwards, he's just annoying and creepy, failing over and over. But are we supposed to feel bad for him at this point? Oh no, the poor creep got his heart broken. Who cares? To be fair, by the end of it, he genuinely does stop manipulating reality. He doesn't try to get laid with her, he just spends time with her, and the love feels much more real, and he kind of makes up for it. I'll say kind of, because he still does dickhead things like giving this piano teacher $1,000 and forces her to kick out her child student. Didn't learn much after all, did you asshole? But the trauma really kicks in when he finds a dying elderly man and rushes him to hospital, but he unfortunately passes away from old age. Phil then spends the days giving him the best final few hours he can and even tries to prevent his death, but he can't and refuses to accept this. He turns his life around and tries his best to make as big a difference as possible, so the character does redeem himself in the end, which breaks the curse. He gives money to the homeless, he stops injuries, he starts showing more of an actual interest in people's personal lives. It's a really well done and smooth transition. To be fair, I do like that there's no explanation. It adds a sense of mystery and you can interpret it however you like. There's one particular day where Rita actually finds out about the loop and naturally finds it impossible to believe. Phil then starts freaking people out, revealing personal stories about them and even predicts the future in the restaurant, and it's easily my favourite scene. He even correctly guesses Larry's exact words to convince her. That evening they spend most of the night just talking and it is really sweet. They actually bond on both sides and there's no manipulation, so when it hits 6 AM and the loop starts over again, it's that more heartbreaking and you finally get to sympathise with the character. The film's comedy is great. It is genius writing, and I can only assume it was just influenced by Harold Ramis.
Do you ever have deja vu, Mrs. Lancaster?
I don't think so, but I could check with the kitchen.
I think we should meet again. How's tomorrow for you?
And also some insanely dark humour.
He might be okay.
He ends up committing suicide and realises that even death doesn't break the damn loop. He proceeds to take a toaster and throw it in a bathtub, throws himself in front of a truck, jumps off a tower. Yeah, this film would have been highly offensive if it was released today. There's a sequence where he's originally depressed about the situation, but then when talking to some friends, they say that if there was no tomorrow, there'd be no consequences for their actions, which lifts his spirits. To the point he decides to wreak havoc and gets arrested, only to wake up and it's all erased. But the writers refuse to go further, as originally they were going to have him murder and torture people without consequence. But what about here? He's being chased by the cops and they follow him onto some railroad tracks. Would cops actually go as far as to follow somebody on railroad tracks? But then... Why are you laughing? You just murdered some cops, you sicko! And some have said since we don't hear anything, they might have survived. But come on, there's no way they got out of the way in time. He murdered those poor guys.
Will you be checking out today, Mr. Connors?
Chance of departure today, 100%.
Do all weathermen talk this way?
I'm just trying to talk like normal people talk. Isn't this how they talk?
I mean, here, when he's with another woman, he moans out Rita's name twice. She doesn't even bat an eye. I mean, she questions it, but then just carries on like nothing happened. Hell, he even says...
Nancy, will you be my wife?
After one day. And she doesn't run away screaming?
Don't you have some kind of a line that you keep open for emergencies or for celebrities?
Yeah, weathermen aren't celebrities. I bet you're one of them people who think that footballers' wives count as celebrities. No. I mean, he acts so arrogant every time he gets recognised. Mate, calm down, you're a weatherman, not a fucking movie star.
He's my student.
Wait, why is she so proud? I mean, there's no way you could teach someone to be that good in one session, right? Did he pretend to be shit? Did she really take credit? Like, he comes in, he plays shit for like 10 minutes, then becomes Beethoven, and she's like, oh yes, that was me. Because surely she would walk in, he would start his lesson, be instantly amazing, and she'd be like, well, I'm wasting my time.
Depends on how you look at it.
His morning routine also sometimes changes. Sometimes he leaves the hotel immediately, other times he waits around, and yet every single time without fail, he still bumps into the exact same people at the exact same time every day. How the hell does that work?
I want to thank you for fixing Felix's back. He can even help around the house again.
And the sex is outrageous. There's an auction where loads of women start bidding on Phil for the night, and I can't help but think if this was an auction for women, the movie would be heavily criticised for being sexist. But it still holds up as a charming little story with great comedy, a few silly moments, but a nice message. Well thought out and well acted, and a classic film to look back on.